Hello. Welcome back to Trading Weekly, or at the moment, it's kind of Trading Monthly. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, it's good to be back. We did take a pretty decent amount of break. I think it was 3 weeks in. Like this is third week or fourth week we are coming back. I forget that.
Yeah, it wasn't completely planned, but obviously life happens. We're both busy people, and we have stuff to do outside of this. It's obviously just a hobby for us, but we do love to do it, and we love to come back week after week and give you the insights that you deserve. Because obviously in the market at the moment, it's all a bit all over the place. At the moment, it's very green. We'll get into that a bit later on. But obviously, first of all, we're just a couple of guys talking on the internet about charts, perspectives, and our kind of thoughts and feelings around the market. So, of course, this is not financial advice. Likewise, obviously, make sure you put your stock requests in the comments down below. Whether you're on X or YouTube, we really appreciate it. And of course, a massive thank you to Wolf for letting us use the platform. We really appreciate your support. And with that, we'll jump into the slideshows. Kick it off, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
We haven't had any requests just yet, so obviously make sure if you are, I'll keep it on the bottom there just for now as a non-ticker. But here we go. Right, let's jump into the slideshow. Remember what everything is. Here we go. Awesome. So obviously we're going to cover Microsoft and Now today alongside all the normal layout, market overview, fear and greed, earnings preview, SPY weekly chart, of course, and the yearly performance. Last time, I can't remember what we picked last time, but yeah, we'll get into that a bit later on. We'll move on to the next slide for now. And we can see the market overview for last week. It was pretty flat for a few stocks. We've got Google, Microsoft, and Meta all kind of hovering around that 1%. Up or down there, as you can see, the top left corner there, Nvidia driving the markets as always, up 5.77%, with Apple just below that at 3.52%. We've got down the bottom left section there, we've got a few big numbers. We've got Micron up 7%, and Cisco after earnings up 26%, which is massive for them. Not normally a stock that moves that much, at least in my opinion, of course. And then lastly, at least from me, we've got just above, what's that, Kaye's head. We've got Tesla there up 1.7, a very modest 1%. Anything else on the screen that kind of points out to you?
No, I think that you covered pretty well. I did not realize that Cisco had a 26% day after
That's
earnings, and
incredible. Yeah.
um, crazy. It's like I don't know what to say. Crazy.
Congratulations to any investors that actually, hold Cisco. I don't know anyone who actually does personally, but I'm sure there's lots of people out there. Clearly, there is because it moved quite nicely after the earnings. Yeah, I mean, a bit of a mixed bag for last week. I think the SPY is only up barely, and I think the QQQ is slightly down, but we'll get to that in a
Similar. Yeah.
minute. It might be on the next slide actually. Here we go. Yeah, so QQQ down 0.3%, 0.43%, sorry, and SPY up 0.21%. Still sitting in greed. Obviously, 1 week ago we weren't here, but we were at 66. 1 month ago, which I think we were here, is 56. So it hasn't really moved from neutral and greed. What are your feelings within the market at the moment? Do you think this is a good representation of where we are on the fear and greed index?
I think from a put to call ratio, we are in the bullish territory because generally we are about 0.65 or so when things are green. So we are about 0.60, so slightly bullish, but we are generally in this range when the markets are green and when we are in greed or closer getting to extreme greed. When you start dipping below zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.5, that you know that market is a little bit more skewed towards very bullish. VIX has also come down drastically. I think the before we when we did the live, we were already the market was getting better, and we were like in the 18.8, 18.9. Now it's 18.43. So similar. We have seen some a decline in VIX in uncertainty. And a lot of things happened actually last week. We had the new Fed chair, finally get approved. Um, they last before Jerome Powell left, he said he's not going to raise the interest rate for the last meeting. The minutes are going to come out this week, so it's going to give a little bit more meat. You will have all the Fed chairs speaking, not the Fed chairs, but all the Federal Reserve. Uh, I don't know what you call whatever they call them. They will be speaking throughout the week this week. A lot more analysis will go into the Trump China visit. A lot of eyes will be focused on the real deals, and I think the big one is when you go to the next page is the earnings, and the big one which is going to be Nvidia.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump into anything further, good morning to Justin Elizalde.
Justin.
Good to have you back. It's been a while since we've seen you on the stream, so good to be back. And obviously we've got Microsoft on here, which actually I'm covering as my pick of the week. So no worries, we'll have some extensive knowledge. Well, maybe not knowledge, but extensive thoughts and feelings around Microsoft. I know Kaye has something to say around Microsoft, which is ideal actually, because I didn't know that until we mentioned it this morning before the stream. But yeah, interesting. Sitting in greed, of course. Typically, you know, from a real kind of basic point of view, if you're in extreme greed, that's when you tend to start selling assets. Maybe not all of them, but that's when you start kind of taking profits. And of course, when we come back down to extreme fear, 0 to 25 here on that scale, that's when you start buying assets. And that's kind of how that really works from a really basic level. But I'm pretty sure everyone watching that already knows that. But just bear in mind, obviously, if we do kind of push up in the markets and go into that extreme greed area, then of course that might be a cause for maybe taking some profits off of the table. I think I certainly will be, and I have done in the past. We'll move on to the next slide then. As Kaye said, we've got earnings coming up this week. There's a very small name on the screen there, NVIDIA. I don't know who they are, but they're going to be reporting earnings. But just before we get onto NVIDIA earnings, NEO as well is a big one for me personally. Before market on Thursday, a few other names on there. We've got Walmart, obviously Webull, Zoom on all kind of around on Thursday. That's all I can really think of to kind of catches my eye. But Nvidia is definitely the big one this week, isn't it, Kay?
I think that that's going to be the defining earning for the week, to trade or whatever is going to happen, right? That is it.
100%. I mean, they're the biggest stock in the world now, isn't it? That right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they will definitely move the markets. One to pay attention to on Wednesday. If you've got any kind of semi or any data centers or semiconductor stocks, kind of sympathy plays on Wednesday. Just be careful with the volatility that's going to be heading into Thursday morning, of course. So if you do get a bit panicky, maybe just sit out of the markets and just let them play out. Come back in a few days and see what's happened to that position from then on. Obviously, manage your risk, of course, but yeah, don't get too emotional around these kind of earnings reports. They're just telling the future of the stock, shall we say. Okay, we'll move on then to SPY Weekly. We've had a pretty good return in the last 2 months. We've been on and off the last couple of months, but we have been around, as you can probably see on our X pages. I'm not too sure what the details are for that. I don't know why my name is Sam. I've got my name is Sam down the bottom left-hand corner there on my look on my image there. Okay, look at that. My name is Sam. It's changed that in a minute.
The game of Sam.
Yeah, I didn't change it. Obviously, go heading into this. I'll change that in a minute when you're talking. But yeah, SPY Weekly at the moment. We've got the last that's that 7 weeks just green.
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of an arrow here to play out. Obviously, we've got a couple of trend lines on the screen which we've had drawn on this for months now. Going back to November of last year, pretty much. So we've come back down, kind of rejected off that trend line, and then bounced and made this trend line. Obviously, it didn't bounce off that until it bounced. I couldn't draw that line. Came back up, broke through this one, and I expect perhaps maybe a drawdown to 725. That would probably be maybe 730. And then maybe make a move towards that 800 mark, given market conditions, of course. Kaye, if you talk to the chart there, I'm going to try and change my name.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'm looking at from a daily chart perspective rather than weekly, because weekly does what you're saying is absolutely correct. We would want to have that kind of a pullback at that the trend line and then see a breakout. But interestingly, for the daily chart, we still have not filled that gap that we had back in first week of April, and from here that gap fill is about 10-11%. So
wow, yeah.
And generally the key pointer is that now we are in mid-May, right? So you're coming up to June almost. So you got June, July, August, September, October, 5 months before the midterm election happens in November. Now, within these 5 months, historically speaking, every single year that has been a election year, you do get a pullback. So then the question is, do we get a pullback from 740 all the way going to 672 or 670 to fill that gap? Or is that going to be further, we are going up to 780, 790? Because think about this, the higher you go to fill that gap, and SPY is not like your stocks, individual tickers where the gaps will not get filled and you will continue to have this momentum, and it takes about a year for the gaps to fill. It doesn't happen with SPY, unfortunately. So it's going to be very interesting. And though I'm not bearish, but I'm going to be a little bit more skeptical in taking all the random trades that I want to take. I because when it starts to stretch a little bit more, you start to get a little bit more concerned. Okay, the pullback. If you would have filled the gap and then continue going on, it would be a little bit easier. But
Yeah,
that's
bit
the
more
problem.
secure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tricky one, especially with obviously Donald Trump in power pretty much, and obviously we've got a new Fed chair. We don't know what he's like yet. He
yeah.
could be a bit more erratic with his decisions going forward, so the market will obviously react to that. We've had Jerome Powell for at least 8 years or something like that now, so
Two
it's
terms. Two
been
terms.
fairly predictable from him over the years, especially in the last couple of years. You kind of know what's going to be happening with him.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going to happen with this new guy. Is it Kevin Walsh? Is that his name? I can't
Kevin
remember.
Walsh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what he does, and of course with the geopolitical side of things as well. Anything can happen in the markets, of course. But yeah, as Kaye said, obviously the gap, we don't have it on the screen here, but the gap fill down below. What was the level of that gap fill, Kaye?
So the
Just so
gap
people know.
starts around 660, goes to 672.
Yeah, so this area here where my cursor is on the screen. So it's a little bit of um, that could definitely happen at some point, I think, this year for sure. But like you say, whether we go to 800 first or not, we're not too sure. But just
Yeah.
play it by ear and manage your risk as you kind of go along. I think that's probably the best way to kind of round that slide off. Okay, we'll move on from the SPY weekly then to the past performance. So of course we did pick ONDS and Netflix in the last stream, but that was obviously maybe 4 weeks ago now. So I've just done the performance since then to now. And obviously since then, ONDS actually went down like 20% and
Oh,
came back up. So resulting in a 2% win, which sounds crazy with ONDS. But of course, Netflix unfortunately didn't really pick up after its earnings reports,
nope.
which is a shame because my trade stopped out to the downside. I didn't lose too much. Obviously, the risk was very, very low. So I'm going to be looking to get back into it if we feel the gap down below. Maybe we can have a look at that later on, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
The next gap down below, which I can't remember exactly where that is, but if we can fill that, then I'll be very, very excited moving forward with Netflix because it's still a giant within the streaming world, of course. But yeah, took the week, so it's now 6.6 on the year, which is I like it. We're in a good place where we are. But yeah, moving on, you can find me on X and YouTube, releasing videos every now and then, and of course, giving the best kind of, at least in my opinion, the best kind of breakdowns of charts and kind of my thoughts around, my feelings around certain stocks on X as well, at Shaun Trades _. Kaye, I know you've got a lot going on at the moment with the Substack. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So finally, I have been able to publish a lot more articles lately on Substack. So I'm finally, warming up. So 3 weeks in a row, I have published 3 articles. There was one iron trade. We're going to talk about service now, and then interestingly, we also have a Microsoft. So
Yes, released this morning, wasn't it?
yes, it was released this morning. So it's free. The Substack is free. Uh, Definitely go ahead, check it out, subscribe to it. There's no cost to it, and the idea is basically to provide these plays that are going to be swing trading, position trading, option selling, and just in general earnings play. So the earnings play are a little bit more, it'll be faster. So it could be, you could release articles, a day before the earnings or the day of the earnings, and then next day I can summarize what happened. But definitely go ahead and subscribe to the Substack channel, and then YouTube is going to be picking back up at some point in time as well this year.
Yeah, so that's at InvestK for the Substack. I do recommend going over and having a look because there's been 3 very good articles in the last 3 weeks. So I've enjoyed reading them, that's for sure. Very transparent, very knowledgeable, and very easy to follow. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you very much for that, Kaye. We'll move on to the next slide, which is my pick of the week, Microsoft. I think Kaye will be able to talk a bit more about the kind of business side of things, but I'm going to be having a look a bit at the kind of technical side of things here. It's been a bit of a laggard in the Mag 7 in the last couple of months, really. Of course, the market has gone wild with Google and obviously Nvidia, etc. as well, doing very, very well. But Microsoft hasn't really picked up, and maybe Case can talk about that a little bit later on. But purely on a technical scale here, we've got a trend line going from November of last year, as you can see in the top left-hand corner, just behind my name there, coming all the way down to where we are now, thereabouts. And it's kind of breaking out of that trend line. Now, this isn't perfect. I have taken a trade. I started it on Friday, but before the close, just because the market was dropping down most of the day. I thought I'd take an opportunity there. Perhaps people taking profits throughout the week, which is understandable given the week we had. So I thought I'd take a bit of an opportunity there. It's not a full position, but it is a partial position, which I quite like. Just shares, nothing too glamorous, of course. But yeah, stop loss nicely down at 400 and a target price of 479. So my thesis for this one is, of course, the breakout of the trend line, the bounce off of the VWAP there, which is the blue line kind of flowing through the screen, if you follow my cursor. Of course, volume profile on the right, reacting well off of that as well. And then, of course, we do have a volume gap, which is the main kind of meat and potatoes of this move, should we say. If we can break through this volume and then move up to 479, of course, it's not going to be overnight. I'm expecting to have this for maybe a couple of months, something like that, perhaps, which is why I've drawn this box out quite wide. And it's about, I think it's just over 3-to-1 return, which is something that I look for generally. I always start a position at 3 or 4-to-1, just because that's my playbook, that's my trading plan. And lots of people are very different, of course. But the target price, as you can see, is a basic gap fill from January of this year. So yeah, that's my thesis throughout the trade. Kaye, do you want to speak about your trade, or do you want to speak about kind of Microsoft? You take the floor.
No. So interestingly, let me state this: same ticker, different perspective on taking the trade. Bottom line is, you have this the volume gap, and basically we're also talking about the gap fill, which starts around the 440 going to 477. That's when the drop happened back on 128. So since 128, we have been like kind of not bar coding, but up and down between this 432 and 357 range. Now, again, Microsoft is a quality company. There's no doubt about it, right? You can go and take a look at the previous earnings, which recently came out. You had 18%, year over year growth for a multi-trillion-dollar company, right? Your 40% over year, your cloud services were up, Azure and cloud services. Your Microsoft 365 commercial cloud revenue was up 19%. So those are all just numbers that we are throwing out at you, right? But bottom line is, I have a very simple thesis on, good quality names. When the stock is down below its 200-day, 300-day, and Shaun, I found something interesting: 500 SMA. Forget about
Wow,
3, 500 SMA. So
that's a bit extreme for me, but I like it. Go ahead.
right. So the what I'm trying to say is that when you have these quality companies getting thrashed, below it's what the market value is or what other companies are, this is how you actually build wealth. You don't
Yeah,
build wealth buying at all-time highs, at 52-week highs for stocks, especially for quality companies. Now, I'm not saying you should be buying any company that's below 200 and 300. That's the trap, because
yeah,
not every company which is below 200 or 300 will come back. But quality companies, and when I say quality companies, I'm mostly speaking to the big tech companies like Google's. Like we talked about Google last year. You saw where Google is today, right? We talked about AMD. You saw where AMD is. We talked about Amazon. Amazon hasn't really done that much, but again, still has has an upside. Um, we also started getting bullish on Apple, and Apple has also kind of shown that.
yeah.
So the
Done
point,
very well.
yeah. So now again, you can have other tickers like I don't know, the new tickers like Micron, right? Or Micron is not a new ticker, but what I'm trying to say is, like, you will have those exceptional scenarios, but then you are forgetting about the big players in the room, which are the Microsofts and Nvidias and Apples and Amazon, right? That's easy money, and same thing is going to happen with Netflix, which I'll probably publish an article later on the trade as well. But that's my thesis here, and I'm using a leap instead of shares, because I get the leverage is much higher in leap compared to buying shares. That's it. That's my
Yeah, no, I do very much like buying leaps, for sure. But for this one, I've gone for kind of shares, for it's actually within a prop firm. So
yeah.
yeah, hopefully that goes quite
And,
well.
and the funny thing is, I think I'm already up 18% on my leap.
Awesome. Yeah, because of
Yeah,
the move on Friday.
that was the move on Friday. Now, again, I
Yeah,
did not expect that move, and I don't really care even if my leap goes back in red, because the
it's a
idea,
long-term outlook.
it's actually 20% up. That's the
Yeah.
funny. So, by the way, I do have an article on Substack. Go ahead and check it out for the full Microsoft thesis on that.
On the long term side of things, I bought a leap on SoFi like last week as well. So maybe we can bring that up a bit later on.
Yeah.
We haven't had many requests come through, so we'll just go through some of the hot names at the moment. If we don't get many through, of course. But yeah, that is just something we love to do. So why not? Okay, that's it for Microsoft. Then we covered that very extensively. Thank you very much for your input there, Kay. I think it was very, very valuable for the viewer. We move on now to your pick, which is ServiceNow, which is basically the talk of the town. It's all I see is
It's a
ServiceNow this, ServiceNow that. It's
yeah,
partnering with
yeah.
this, who, whatever going on. And technically, it looks quite exciting as well. So, Kate, I'll let you have the floor.
Thank you. Um, ServiceNow is a SaaS name. So for folks who don't know, ServiceNow did have a split. It used to be trading around $600, $700 stock. So I think it had a split long time back, or early this year. I forget when it had. I wasn't paying attention to ServiceNow, and I will be very, very honest. Is I also got the idea of ServiceNow by looking at the Twitter handle, right, or the X handle, and then people started talking about Jensen Huang said this, Jensen Huang said that, and then I actually started watching all the videos where Jensen Huang actually talked about ServiceNow. And ServiceNow also had their Knowledge 2026 conference in Vegas. And that's like a 90-minute or 2 hour session. And you can kind of go ahead and watch those sessions. And there are basically two main ideas over there. One is with FedEx. So how FedEx has implemented ServiceNow, and how they are using the agents, AI agents, to run their workflows. And then they bring on Jensen Huang, and Jensen Huang kind of lays it down. Now we also saw the recent 13F filing. Again, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's true or false that Donald Trump is also buying ServiceNow. So seems like there's a lot of buzz around people on should we buy ServiceNow. I I don't think most people understand what ServiceNow actually does. So in the corporate world, there are not that many softwares that are called enterprise level softwares, right? You have Microsoft, which is enterprise level software. You have Salesforce, you have ServiceNow, and you have a couple of the big names on ServiceNow in the enterprise software. If you remember, one of my picks is actually Monday.com for the year, which is not an enterprise level software. Especially large enterprise, they don't use Monday. Mostly the small and medium sized businesses use Monday.com. But what we are trying to get here is very simple. Same concept here. Below is 200 day, below is 300 day, and because they're partnering with Nvidia and partnering with all the bigger enterprise level companies, and they are showcasing that, hey, we are launching this whole AI ecosystem, and all these companies are actually using the AI ecosystem. So the stock actually is very strong in terms of the financials. It's just mispriced. And I tell you why it was mispriced. We have been beating this drum from multiple weeks here on this channel. Is Anthropic releases a product, they say the entire SaaS industry is dead. Guys, you're not going to go use vibe coding to build a workflow software. It does not work like that in real life. No matter who says what on X, doesn't
Yeah.
matter, right? In reality, it doesn't work that way. People, if that was that easy, why has Microsoft still maintained Office, Word document, PowerPoint presentation, Excel spreadsheets in the entire world? Right? That should have been easy to replace, right? Doesn't work that way. So the thesis is simple. Again, there's an article on why I opened a leap on ServiceNow. Definitely go check it out. Now, keep in mind, this is not something that because everybody's talking on X today and tomorrow is going to go up. It could take 2 3 4 quarters before you could see that ramp up with the SaaS. And the narrative for SaaS is starting to change. It hasn't changed yet, starting to change. But this is where you make money. You don't make money once the narrative has changed. You make money before narrative gets changed. That's it. That's the trade on the leap. 2028 leap for ServiceNow.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I've written it down in my notes there to have a look at now. It's the talk of the town. It was already on my watch list anyway, but just having a little bit more of a dive into it. But like, as you mentioned, this could be a kind of a next 6 to 9 month kind of turnaround in terms of basing out, moving up nicely, slowly, potentially maybe kind of knocking down those moving averages one by one. So yeah, maybe the leap option there is kind of a very good call there. So I'm gonna have a look at that, see if I can get myself in there as well, potentially. But yeah, looking at the chart though, it looks like it's kind of obviously below the moving averages for now. We
And this
do
is a
have a
weekly chart,
potential
by the
trend
way.
line.
This is a
Sorry?
weekly chart. This is a weekly
Oh,
chart. Not
okay, right. Okay, so it's a weekly chart, even more exciting. So if you drew a line from this point where my cursor is, you can kind of see there, draw it down as like a trend line, but kind of almost poking out of that. And I know that because I've drawn it on my chart a bit earlier in the weekend. But on top of that as well, you can just about see above Kaye's head, this is the bottoming part of the RSI here. Is probably down about kind of 20, 25, something like that. And you can see that correlates with slightly higher price action. Price action has come down since that point, and of course it has set a slightly higher RSI, which is an RSI divergence, which just shows you there's some strength in the lower prices, which is really good to see for a stock that's kind of it's been beaten down, but it actually has a good narrative potentially. So yeah, really, really excited to stock to move forward with, and I'm looking forward to doing a bit more research into it. I might actually do it tonight, which is a bit exciting. Just let's move ourselves to one side and see the volume increase as well. You can see really big volume increase since November, really. It's doubled and doubled consistently, which is always good to see in a particular stock. So yeah, technically good, and obviously there's catalysts potentially there as well, and as Kaye mentioned in the beginning part of this section. But yeah, ServiceNow, fantastic, cool. Let me know in the comments, or let us know in the comments if you're looking at ServiceNow now. But yeah, okay, well that's really good. We had Microsoft as my pick and ServiceNow as Kaye's pick. We're going to move on to the audience requests now. So if you are watching either on X or on YouTube, I'll stick it up on the screen temporarily. Here we go. So put your ticker requests in the comments. We've got plenty to go through, but just in case we do run out or you want yours looked at, then go ahead and stick it in the comments down below. It's tricky, isn't it, at the moment? Looking at the markets, you look at all these names kind of moving up nicely. You've still got SAS that's kind of a bit beaten down. Had a very good Thursday, Friday, but it's still tricky to kind of buy stocks at these levels and knowing which ones to buy because of how extended we are really in the market. So
exactly.
do you have any advice on, not advice, but have you any thoughts on stock market being at these levels and knowing when to buy, or do you sit on your hands? Do you wait for a certain technical level? I know I've just kind of thrown this at you, but I'm sure the viewers might appreciate any return.
I mean, it depends on which portfolio you're talking about, right? If you're talking about a long-term portfolio, like
let's talk about that,
right? So let's start with that. I'm not adding anything on SPY. Because if I have IVV in my long term, but basically it's a SPY, right? So I'm not adding to S&P 500, every single week or every single day because it's at all-time highs. I'm waiting for a pullback, because how you treat SPY, or when I say index fund like SPY, versus how you treat stocks, right? There are two different approaches to it. So when I get those 5%, I add more. If I get 10%, I add even more. And if I get 15-20%, I add more, right? So that's just a SPY strategy where you just keep adding it long term. Now when it comes to stock, the idea is similar, because not all the Mag 7s, let's talk about the Mag 7 for now. Not all Mag 7s are, you can invest it. People will talk about PE ratio, forward PE, this is cheap, that is cheap. Depends on how you look at it. I'm just looking from perspective, okay, it's a Mag 7. It's not going out of business anytime soon, right? At least not for the time I'll be holding the stock. So if that's the case, and I know these are the stable, companies I want to invest in, I just look at if they're 52 weeks low or on the lower side versus, investing something at a higher side. Like right now, I will not put money in Google. I want it for a pullback. AMD, I'm not going to touch it, right? AMD has already run up. Can it run up more? Yes. That's why we have runners, right? That's why you keep runners. That's why you build your portfolio in a way, or you build your trade in a way where that, let's say you buy 200 shares. Okay, 50 shares I'm going to allocate to taking profit so that I can quickly get out at 50% profit. Then another 50 shares at 100% profit. Another 50 shares at, I don't know, 200, 300% profit, and then so on and so forth. That's just a like a example I'm giving. Doesn't mean that's how I'm doing it. But you always keep runners, because when you have runners, you can really see, how AMD did two gap ups in a span of like 5 days, right? So I think don't invest money or don't buy things when it's all time highs. Wait for the pullback. That's the simplest one. You can pay money for this advice, but this is basically the essence of investing. You can say it many ways. I'm just telling you this way. This is my way of thinking.
Yeah, there's also things like obviously looking at the moving averages, the big moving averages, the 200, the 300, and of course RSI. If there was a pullback, if the RSI came down to kind of 10,
Yeah.
15, then that's normally a pretty good indication of, oh, maybe I should be looking at this stock moving forward. As we touched on a bit earlier on actually in the stream. So yeah, I think that's good advice there
And
for anyone
then
watching.
the
It's kind of it's generic, but I think people should definitely
very
know
generic,
that.
right?
Yeah,
And there's other thing. Second is you look at things that are beaten down and where
yeah,
the money is going to rotate in, right? Right.
it's
So
cyclical. Yeah.
cyclical, right? So SaaS is beaten down across the board, and there is no way SaaS is going away just
No.
because Anthropic has not been able to even get they have just had a deal with what Starlink to put data centers in space. Boss, Elon Musk has been trying to put robo taxis on the street, and you haven't got to 2 or 3 cities yet. So it's going to take time. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's going to take time.
It certainly is. Okay, we'll move on to the next session. And before we do that, can you add a AXTI to the
I did.
list? We
I
had
did.
that on. Okay, good, cool, awesome.
I have it here.
The Halala is back. Yes, we are back, and you're back. Who's back? We're both back.
We are both back.
We appreciate the comment on the YouTube channel. We don't always look at that for the comments. I do apologise. I only saw it this morning. But yeah, I've managed to get in the reply just there, just for that. But yeah, welcome back. If you've got any ticker requests, obviously stick them in there. The Halala, we appreciate that. Okay, what's the first one up then, Kaye?
First one is QQQ, and then AXTI, and then we got some from Neha, so we're just going to add that in there.
Sweet. So QQQ. Looking pretty frothy at the moment. I do actually have a trend-based Fibonacci extension on here, which seems to have broken through the one level, and we seem to be on our way to 845. So that's exciting. Yeah, we'll see if we can kind of make our way towards that. We did at the top of the show talk about spine and the pullback to the most recent kind of trend line, didn't we? It was probably something along the lines of this. It's a similar trend line. So it'd be interesting to see if we do get a pullback down to this level here, 680-ish, and then make a move higher. So that's definitely a possibility there. Let's draw that out a bit clearer for people to see. But any thoughts on the QQQ while I draw this line?
No, so I'm looking at daily as well, and definitely it seems a little overextended, and we did have this little nice doji candle on Friday. Now that also has to do with the assessment of post-China visits. So a lot of analysts were not very, I guess, happy, or they didn't have enough. Like there's not enough meat in the deals that at least is being portrayed. So I think that definitely is playing its some role in there. And then I guess Nvidia reporting earnings, which is the last of the big ones for the season, for this earnings season. And I think all eyes are over there until. And interestingly, for Nvidia, I was just looking at the numbers. Nvidia earnings, 75% of the times we get it wrong. Like every single time you're expecting a move higher, and 75% of them you're wrong, basically. So keep that in mind on Nvidia trade, and that's the reason I did not pick Nvidia for this week, because
Yeah.
I'm sitting out the Nvidia trade, because what you saw in AMD, my personal opinion or prediction or whatever you want to call it, I don't think Nvidia will show what AMD showed us. Because if Nvidia shows that, boss, it's going to be like a 4, 5, 6, 7, $8 trillion company. It's not going to move that much. So
Yeah, it's interesting. With the
we got to move
analysis there,
fast. We got a lot of ticker requests now.
We have. Yeah, we've got plenty of time. We've got 25 minutes. But just before we move off QQQ here, we've got RSI actually quite extended for the markets here, kind of 70. Well, it's down to 72 now, but it was as high as 82. So that pullback to that kind of 680 level looks quite juicy. This is not cemented. This is just a rough, a rough thought process of mine. It could well come back down to, and probably should come back down to this level here, previous resistance, turn support, that kind of thing, around 636, which is over 10%, but it's very possible, as we spoke about at the top of the show. Okay, let's move on.
And there is actually a gap at the 591, which is 16% from here.
Yes, down here, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a gap here, actually, just there.
Oh, right. Yes.
Okay, what's next? Is it AXTI?
AXTI. Yeah. What do? They are a semiconductor company.
They're doing very well.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start with this.
So their revenue, the revenue is only 26 million. It's not a profitable company. Let me see. What's the net income? Yeah, it's not a profitable company, but their loss definitely reduced quarter over quarter. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of this one before, but
Just why we look at that, while you're looking at that, we've got Money Managers come back. So welcome back, Money Manage. Missing you guys. Yeah, we miss each other too. That's weird to say. We miss you too. But
yeah,
we miss each other as well.
Yeah, we definitely missed this.
We missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might actually have to change the name from Trading Weekly to Trading something else, because it's not very weekly at the moment. But yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you for coming back, Money Manager. Good to have you on board. Let's crack on with this analysis. So AXTI, in terms of a technical point of view, it's tricky to buy this. We had a really good day on Friday. It was up, 7.65%. I wouldn't be looking at buying this until it comes down to any sort of volume, because that's obviously where the big players will be looking at this stock, like the hedge funds and stuff. That's where this volume sits, somewhere around this level perhaps, which is about 69 to 79. Let's call it 70 to 80, just for purpose sake. So that kind of level does appeal to me, because then obviously you've got the kind of trend line set here as well. I mean, you can draw that several different ways. You can draw it from down here as well. But yeah, that will require a lot more analysis.
I agree with you. I think the 70, $71 is where, because those are also double highs over there, right? You got like a lot more support over there.
Yeah, yeah. And also that would, if it was to kind of bounce this area, that would just confirm another a higher low. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and it would be around this level. So that'd be 4. So it'd be good for that kind of next leg up. It's definitely more stable anyway, but who knows? These stocks are going mad at the moment. Anything can happen. It's very difficult to invest in these particular stocks. Okay, Let's move on.
Next is
Snowflake. I actually started a position on this very recently.
Tell us about.
Just a short-term type of trade. You can see it on the screen there. Very simply, stop loss at 140. Target price, I would like the target price actually to be 210, but I'm being a bit conservative with this, especially with earnings just around the corner. I will cut it before earnings most likely, because it's not the environment I want to be in, especially with the stock that's been so I don't know, unpredictable, I guess, in the last couple of years, should we say. So if we are to make this move towards 195, as I currently have my target price, I might drop it down to 190. But as I said at the top of the show, I prefer to have 3 to 4 to 1. I've put my stop loss here for now, but I really want it kind of here. But I just want to give it a bit of extra room for the first couple of days. I don't mind losing that much. It's not an issue to me. It's a small position. But that's the risk I've taken on board before, I even took the trade. I was kind of doing my analysis before I take the trade, of course, as we all should. But yeah, that's my thoughts. The thesis behind the trade is very simply, we've broken out of the trend line here, and a longer term trend line, as you can see, kind of flowing through the screen. I won't flow back, but you can kind of get it. But we've bounced off of that very nicely on Friday. So I enter position again just before the weekend, because of the kind of the sell-off, and I expect possibly a nice little bounce on Monday morning to start off this position. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. What are your thoughts on Snowflake at the moment, Kaye?
So I actually have the chart pulled up on my side as well. And so what I've noticed in the last 7 trading days, we had very good support at the 20 SMA, which is 147.25. and then on Friday we started to peak above the 50 SMA, which is 154. So that is
This one
definitely,
here.
yes, that is definitely bullish. I think the key for Snowflake, I think from a business standpoint, is to really start to reduce their net loss, right? Because their net income is negative quarter over quarter, like 3 quarters straight, they are losing $300 million. Now, if that comes down to substantial numbers, like I don't know, $250 million loss versus $300 million loss, I think that is going to be the change, the narrative of the story for Snowflake. Now, keep in mind, Snowflake is also part of this big entire AI stack trade. Right? So, how people are looking at chips, people are looking at power, people are looking at I don't know, memory, people are looking at all those different stacks for AI. In this space, you have, of course, you have Palantir, but you also have Snowflake from an
Hmm.
enterprise standpoint. And that's where I think a lot of narrative, the SaaS narrative, as it starts to shift, you will start to see a lot more money rotating back into names like these.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Might be worth looking at some like long-term leaps as well at this point, but obviously I wouldn't be buying after days like Friday with a 4% up day. I only buy leaps if it's kind of on a red day, of course. That's kind of general advice. But yeah, okay, we'll move on then to
Next
the
is
next stock.
MongoDB, another SaaS name here.
I'll let you talk to this one because I'm not too familiar with MongoDB at all, and I know
So
you have
yeah,
been in
like
it.
from a technical standpoint, if you notice, like one of the things very peculiar, not peculiar, very specific to MongoDB is just the look at the chart. It loves to create these gaps,
It
and some,
does, yeah.
right, it sometimes gets very difficult to trade MongoDB per se. Now MongoDB also has been losing money, but in the last 2 quarters they started showing that they are starting to get into the positive territory. Still makes a decent amount of income. They make about like $700 million every quarter, so it's decently, it's doing well. Let me look at the earnings season. When is the earning? Is it reported earnings or coming up?
It is on the 28th of May.
28th of May. So, by the way, there is a down revision of 21 versus 6. So that is something to be a little bit more careful about. It's So right now, it's the resistance that they're going to face is about the 200-day SMA, and that is, I think, can only be broken by some sort of like a catalyst news that they come up with, some big tie up with something, like a AI company or something on those lines. This is a very, very tricky chart. I will tell you, I don't know how to trade this. Just the sheer amount of gaps they create every
I,
single.
I I like that, but I also like how they fill the gaps. I've just been having a look at this chart while you've been talking there. But even right here at the beginning, we've got a gap made, came back down and filled it. Gap up, came back down and filled it. This was a gap up, eventually it came and filled it.
Yeah,
Gap down, okay, didn't quite fill it on the first attempt, but it did fill it on the second attempt. Obviously, this one was filled as well.
yeah,
This gap up was filled fairly recently as well,
exactly.
so that has been filled and bounced nicely. So what I've done is I've drawn a line here, which is a gap down, and then there's two gap ups here as well. Sorry, two gaps to fill on the upside as well. So there would be the kind of possible entry points. Ideally, I would like it to come down to 269. And then obviously get in for a trade there, of course, nice tight stop loss, and then play it for a first, take profit around 339. And then beyond that, probably 411, which would be a very nice return of probably around about 80%, something like that. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts around the gaps. Yes, there is a lot of gaps, but they do actually quite respect them and move off of those gaps, which not a lot of stocks do. Sometimes they fill the gap and then just kind of dribble out a bit like Netflix has done in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so it's interesting to see a stock actually react off of the gap, which is quite refreshing. Palantir used to do it back in the day, not so much anymore. But yeah, no, I hope that helps you out, Nihalala, and obviously all the other viewers watching as well. Any final words on MongoDB?
Nope. Let's move on to Crowd. So this is going to be also a very interesting name. Not
Oh
something
wow.
not something I would touch right now. But in the AI stack and cybersecurity space, this is one of the names, right? You have Palo Alto, that's another name, but CrowdStrike is more popular than Palo Alto. Um, I don't know what to say here. It's like if you are in this, keep riding, but this is not the time you would want to make a position in. With it's
No, I mean, if you're got a position in it, I don't know if you just frozen, Kay. Did you just freeze? No, you just froze for me. Anyway, you're back. Um,
yeah, I'm back. I had my docking station was switched off for
all
a
right.
second. Yeah.
If you are in this position, I think, especially on a long-term position or a long position of some sort, taking profits at this level here, 630, maybe 620 to 630, that sort of level would be ideal, I'd say, because obviously that is a previous resistance in terms of a channel, because we've been in this channel for quite some time now. And I'm just going to add a K back. Here we go. Right, and so yeah, so we've been in this channel for quite some time. I think that would be a reasonable place to take profits. I wouldn't short necessarily at this level, just given where the market is. But it is interesting to see that we have done our previous some sort of analysis at some point in the past, and I've drawn this line, and it's kind of paid out quite nicely. It hasn't respected to kind of break out and retest that much, but you can see that there was a bit of a breakout and a retest in the form of this particular move here. So you could have had maybe a trend line there instead, but that's just interesting to kind of see what lines I've drawn in the past. But yeah, lovely move, but I wouldn't be buying it, that's for sure.
Next is Apple.
This one's taken off as well.
Yeah, Apple. I didn't even realize that it really took off. I think I forget when the new CEO will start because he didn't go to China. Tim Cook went. Uh,
September, isn't it? September, I think.
right. So June they have the developer conference
Yeah,
and
WWDC or something.
WWDC, yes, and then they will have the September event. That's going to be, I guess, the transition to the new CEO. I do think that from an Apple perspective, I think I would watch for a pullback if you want to start a position on Apple. I would not chase Apple at this point. Like most names, I won't chase right now. Like they are not, they're too extended.
Yeah, I think this level here of 288 would be a good starting point because obviously we've got previous all-time highs set back in December of 25. If it came back down to those levels, I'd be very interested. Obviously, heading into this new kind of era, I guess, for Apple. One thing is to be said, I did actually play a trade on this fairly recently. It was on the retest of this trend line, which is why this is drawn on the chart. I didn't draw this recently, I did draw this a while ago. Entered on the retest, and then obviously it played up to here. I took the profits at all-time highs just because I just wanted the money at the time. And that was a nice trade, kind of played out nicely. So again, kind of rinse and repeat. We've spoken about this in the past. If it came back down to this support line, you could actually place a trade there. Stop loss would be quite tricky on that entry, but you'd have to maybe have a look at potentially like this. Let's have a look. So you obviously got a bit of a trend line there as well. So you could, if it was to come down to those levels, bear with me. So it comes down like here, you enter there, you hope the stock moves up, you'd have a nice stop loss down below the trend line, just like that. So nice and easy setup if that was to play out. We'll leave the drawings on there as we normally do, Kay. So
Yeah,
we'll see how wrong it will be in a few weeks.
No, I
But
mean you
yeah,
might end up being right because see, if you look at the volume also on the right hand side,
yeah,
uh, that also plays because if that breaks because there is not much volume, so you're looking at what 280 260, what's that number 260, that's when the volume
280,
starts, yeah,
260, yeah.
whatever that number is, yeah, that's when the volume starts to come in.
Yeah, and you notice that there's no gaps on Apple as well. So, for example, like Meta and Microsoft, they have quite a few gaps here and there, but Apple actually doesn't have any gaps. So there's nothing to really fill in that respect. But yeah, interesting to see Apple like this in a moment.
Yeah,
Should we move on?
yeah. Hold on. I had
Nokia, I
to,
believe.
yeah, and okay.
Kay's having a fantastic time over there. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can get him back on the screen. There we go. Oh no, I've taken him off. Never mind. There we go. He's back.
Oh, yeah, I removed my docking station. It's having a little off day today.
It's a bit of a meltdown. Yeah, Nokia's doing really well. I think, are they in data centers now? Is that right? They're not the Nokia 3310 company I used to know.
I mean, they definitely have something to some AI stuff is going on with Nokia. Definitely, it's not the same Nokia. It's not the phone Nokia. I don't. I mean, I know that there is a. I'll tell you. Like I am, like it's a lotto for me. I just threw in a September call, and hopefully that might print some money. If I lose, I don't really care much. It's just I don't have the brain power to do analysis on these things.
I mean, you've got to have a bit of a punt here and there, haven't you? As long as it's good size relative to your portfolio. Very small. I
Yeah,
mean, not very
it,
big.
it's a
Um,
minor. If I lose it, I mean, you make more money doing options trading, way more with each trade than the cost of the call. So there's a lot of.
exactly. A couple of gaps down below while we're here. Again, we can't really do much technical analysis on this because of the way it's moved recently, but we've got 890 with this gap down below and a slightly higher gap around that 830 mark. So if we do come back down to fill that gap, then of course a good entry price would be around that one. Not a good entry price, but a possible entry price around here would be good to fill up this gap actually as well. A bit higher, but that will most likely be completely wrong, just because you can see the price action on the screen. It's wild, absolutely wild, and the volume doesn't really make a lot of sense kind of in between these levels either. In a real world example, come back down to 8 to 850, that would be ideal really, moving forward. But again, I don't know much about Nokia. As I mentioned at the beginning of this piece, I thought they still made 3310s, but I used to have one of them. They were really good. Anyway, let's move on.
Next is EENS. I'm not sure what that is though.
NSS. This is a new one for me as well, actually. I've not heard of this ticker at all.
Let's see what they.
Have you got the correct mic plugged in at the moment, okay?
No, unfortunately, that's with the
Just
dock.
all,
So
okay.
that's you will hear a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to put my docking station back. It's gonna be. Anyways, continue. So ENS.
So we are in the overbought section currently for ENS, but I guess that doesn't mean a lot. Stocks can be in overbought for months at a time. Essentially, we do have a gap down here.
Oh, this is a power
Interesting
company.
to see.
Electrical components.
Okay, do they pay a dividend? I guess maybe.
They do pay dividends. Yes, they do.
Yeah, we've got earnings actually coming up on Wednesday, so that'd be interesting to see on that
So I think,
vertical line there.
yeah, I think also the power trade, or the power companies, I think they have a very important role to play, especially with the AI revolution, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's ENS and there's another one that I was researching. Let me pull it up while you're chatting.
There's a tiny gap there as well. Very tiny gap. It does seem to fill its gaps, which is good. So perhaps if it came back down to kind of 194, that would be ideal. For a long-term perspective. Anywhere below that, actually, this zone between 179 and 194 would be good.
Yeah, I think ENS is. I'll definitely put that in my watch list. Let's see.
Okay, should we move on to the next one? Not really much to cover on this one.
Yeah, next one is MELI, Meli.
Bacala Libra. Not touched this stock for a while.
It's still
This is
pretty
a giant in South America, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still very popular on X, I've noticed, with few accounts.
Switch to the weekly chart on this one, I think, get a bit more of a broader outlook. Of course, it's broken this trend quite significantly, actually, in the last 7 months or so. Setting a new trend, of course, by going down. So a bit of no man's land at the moment. I think we do have volume at this level, which is about 1,200. Let's draw a line there. If it was to come all the way down to there, that could be very interesting for long-term holders. But again, we do have a bit of support in this sort of area. So it's tricky to look at this chart, actually. Maybe anywhere between these two levels. I do like a zone. Anyone watching this knows that I like a zone. So I've got a zone between 1379 and 1225, which is interesting. I probably won't buy this. I'm not too enthusiastic about these types of stocks. Well, I don't know much about it, so why would I buy it? But do you ever trade Mercado Libre? Okay.
No, I don't. And I think generally you would want to, when you're seeing this kind of a decline, you want to at least see the stock kind of making a base. um,
Yeah,
Most times, especially when you have a lot of downtrend going on, and you can look at a couple tickers like that, like Duolingo has made a base. Even I think Snow made a base. Now is making a base, because generally when you have these big drops, you want to see the base forming before it can, because the narrative has to align with the price action. The price has to change, right, for the direction, because money has to flow back in. Yeah, so no, definitely not touching it. Letting it, the if I would be there, I would wait for the base to form. And again, if you had a higher cost basis, you would probably start to nibble to lower your cost basis, but not getting into a trade for the upside yet. You want a confirmation.
absolutely. Okay, we'll move on.
Next one,
CF.
CF Confluent.
I've got CF Industries Holdings.
Okay, perfect. And that might be the one. So
Oh, this one is a bit like a bull flag straight away. So we've got
what do
a
they?
move up there, and then we've got a parallel channel there, thereabouts, there. So we'll be looking for a next leg up if we break out of this sort of level. So perhaps maybe draw that on your charts. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's there. In terms of next levels, obviously you've got this one here. What's the level on that? So 130 to 142. So it's not a huge percentage wise. I mean, I wouldn't be trading this. I don't think it's not really my sort of area, but that's kind of the analysis I brought to the table there. Anything from UK?
No, it's a agriculture company. It's in the agriculture space. They do this, a dividend company as well. They let me see, what else do they do? CF. How's their no, I haven't listed here. Crazy. Okay. Anyways, it's a pretty big company, $19 billion. So maybe mid cap, I guess. Short interest is 5%. So nothing crazy that you will get the. And the earnings, they had a top line, bottom line beat last quarter, or the last earning, which is 5.6. Nope, that's pretty much it
It's
from
not
my
too
side.
bad. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, but not nothing, not that thrilling, really, is it? But
No, no, it
what
doesn't
would you
pop out
expect?
anything specific, but yeah. So next up is Ford.
Well, it's been a while since I looked at Ford.
Yeah,
It's done okay, actually. I think I've looked at this for about 2 years.
it had a pop on Friday, I think, right? Thursday or Friday, one of those days.
I've got Wednesday and Thursday had a nice move. Yeah, pulled back a little bit on the Friday, which I think is normal. I guess I'm not too sure why that is. I don't know the news behind it. Guessing
I
there's definitely news.
I think it was related to the Trump was in China, and I think one of the I don't know if I'm right on this one or not. I'm just speculating. I think they were talking about getting the Chinese cars opening into the US market. So now, of course, if they're going to allow that, what are the chances they're going to let you just come and sell the cars here? That's not going to happen, right? So they're going to have some sort of a tie-up with the legacy of manufacturing automakers. So legacy is what GM, Ford. These are the main legacy automakers. So they might have a tie-up with one of these to open factories and make those cars, and maybe that's the reason why we saw this pop. Again, this is speculation from my side. I have not done my research.
No, I guess moving forward, if we, because obviously we've got a very clear double top here that's performed in the last few days. Moving forward, if we find a bit of a base, and we couldn't really tell you where, perhaps around this level of about 1280, but I would probably just let that play out, let the price action go. But the real meat of the move will be a break of this line here, 1480, and obviously we'll be looking towards that kind of previous highs, maybe around 1671,
Hey,
17,
listen, I
something like
mean,
that.
if
But it's
if
not
Trump
thrilling.
if Trump comes out and say he's buying a part of Ford, I think that's when you should invest, because you saw what happened with Intel.
Yeah, God, yeah, no, big move. We've got a comment here from Poe said F said well, F Ford said that they were going to get into power. That's why it pops. Okay, there you go. You just mentioned it a few tickers ago that power was going to be a pretty good play, didn't you? So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting to see. Okay, we'll move on to the final ticker. I know we've had a couple more, but we do have to kind of move on with our days, of course. Lionsgate Studios. This is a filmmaking stock. I don't think I've ever looked at this. Have you ever looked at Lionsgate, Kay?
Oh, never. That's why I tell you, I like doing this because you get to learn so many new tickers that you know just you would never even think
Oh,
about.
so yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Kay, but we've got previous highs set back in May of 2024. I don't know what any of this price action is. I'm guessing that was a different time. But we've come back up to that and it's acted as resistance. So what I would be looking for, this is a weekly chart,
Is this
is
a
a cup
cup
and
and handle
handle.
forming?
I would like to see a cup and handle, but it's nowhere near forming yet. So what we want to see, oops, sorry, what we want to see is where's my brush? Is a retracement back down to a key level, perhaps there, and then break out of that point. This could obviously be like this, or like this, but that's basically what we're looking at. We're looking at the kind of handle part of this move. You could say that perhaps this part is the handle, but I don't see that because this is the ultimate high that we're looking at here on the right side. This one you have to be patient with. It'd be one that kind of sits on your watch list for the next couple of months to see how it plays out. Because this could very easily be the bottom here, or the bottom of the next move. So one to look out for sure. Hope that helps you out there. I don't even know how to say your name, so I'm just going to go for I don't know MO3 Oxo,
Yeah, zero.
something like that. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's been a fantastic stream. Thank you for all of the tickers that have come through. We had quite a few. I know we've been off for a few weeks now, due to kind of various things in life, of course. But yeah, good to see that people coming back halfway through the stream, catching up. Obviously, don't forget you can get the post recording over on our YouTube channel, which is at Trading Weekly. There we go. I'm just trying to find it on the screen. There you go. At Trading Weekly there. You can find us there on YouTube. So if you did miss the beginning half where we talked about the kind of market or our picks of the week, etc., then go ahead and check that out on YouTube. But as for the week ahead, obviously it's going to be another volatile one as it always is. Just trade safe. I wouldn't go rushing into things. I wouldn't take profits too soon, that kind of stuff. So just be, I don't know how to explain it, but just be thoughtful around your positions, I think, at this time of the market. I've been taking profits here and there and obviously starting positions where I feel see fit. But I haven't been rushing into things, that's for sure. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling a bit, but we do have Nvidia earnings on Wednesday evening. So just be careful around that as well. Kay, can you send us out of this my ramble, please?
No, this is amazing. Glad to be back here again, and I think you summed it well. Be thoughtful, enjoy, and don't take trades if you don't want to take earnings trade, and that's pretty much it, right? And see you guys next week.
Exactly right. And thank you very much for Wolf. Let's use the platform. And yeah,